What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
What's up? I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of books that have come out this week, or maybe not.
Heavy take.
Well, actually, okay, to be fair, I believe
please.
all of these books we're about to talk about have, in fact, come out this week. However, there apparently was a diamond shipping error that led to a ton of comic books not making it to your local comic book shop.
The physical copies.
Physical copies on time this week. They will.
It's never happened before.
It's happened several times.
Yeah.
But this is a lot of it. This is like a ton of stuff from Marvel, Dark Horse, a bunch of the books we're going to be talking about here in The Stack. So if you do go to your local shop and don't see them, they should be showing up the next week. They should also still be available digitally this week as they are normally. But if you get your comics physically, just know we may be spoiling some stuff you may not be getting until December 4th. Wanted to put that out there right now.
Oh, that's nice.
But it's not a problem for DC because they don't ship through Diamond. They ship through Lunar. So we're going to kick it off with our first book here, which is Justice League Unlimited #1 from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora, as well as a little preview of Hush 2 by Gerry.
Hush
2.
Really seamlessly.
Whetting the appetite for the old Hush. Before we talk about that, though, this is kicking off officially the DC All-In era. This is a new Backbone Justice League book that's going to be leading the way. They're all in the Watchtower. The Justice League, per the title, is basically every single superhero. And we're getting a little window character here with the new Airwave is finding its way around the Watchtower.
Popular.
Learning how to be part of the team. And there are a bunch of twists and teases and setups. What did you think about this new first issue, guys?
Well, let me... I see the title Justice League Unlimited, and it makes me think of the animated cartoon that I love very much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when I opened this up and didn't see the same style, it was a little like, well...
well, you
not
knew
that
it was going to be...
has to be, but...
I think from now on, we should be Comic Book Club Unlimited.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Pete, and maybe you're getting around to this, but I do think Mark Waid wrote it in that style. Like, I think it channels the animated series really nicely.
Which is great.
Yeah, which I was really impressed with. Like, it does really bring that exciting, propulsive, this is a big team fighting big enemies thing that you want out of a Justice League book that we haven't seen because it's been away for several years.
But it's this classic kind of thing of, well, you get there to a new place, it's your first day in the job, you never know. So even a veteran has got to be nice because you never know. That person might grow up to murder you later. You know what I mean? It's a classic scenario.
That's the way you approach every job you go into, right?
Exactly.
Everyone's a potential killer.
Whenever you start a new job, you walk in on that first day and you punch the biggest guy in the room.
Oh, that's smart.
New job, new sentence, same thing. I thought this was fantastic. I think Mark Waid is such a tactician when it comes to just telling so much story, using all these characters, like the way the Star Sapphire stuff, the Airwave comes in, like this is just great. Like the awareness of all these characters and their power set and the ways to deploy them for emotional, intense moments. It's very hard to do, and Mark Waid is a master at it, so I really love this. The one thing I want to say, I'm always, when we get like a team book like this, where it's like, Justice League's going to be everywhere all the time, so many heroes, no problem, no rock unturned. I'm like, they would solve all the Earth's problems in a weekend. And then now, reading this, I'm like, we have a lot of problems on Earth. This makes sense. We need this many heroes. We need more heroes in our world to do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm really coming to grips with it.
I'm very curious to see how this works out going forward. Like, if we are going to have a different window character every issue, if we are going to have a little more of a settled cast in the middle there, focusing on the Trinity or otherwise. But as a first issue, if anybody knows how to write first issues of comic books, it's Mark Waid, and he just knocks it out of the park here. Plus, Dan Mora can draw basically anything.
Well, on Dan Mora's art, I feel like it has the sort of bright, wide-eyed, innocent look you want for a big launch like this. And I think that does match with the Justice League Unlimited animated show, because that's what that was all about. Really bright stars and stripes heroes out there doing what needs to be done, and that's what this book is.
Let's very briefly talk about the Hush prelude that runs in the back, which is basically like, hey, remember this guy?
Yeah, right?
Literally, the whole book is like, this guy did this stuff, maybe.
It's nice to see some new Jim Lee art. That's what I'll say about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is great. And it's nice to see. It's like, oh, awesome. Hush 2? I don't know if we needed this, but I am excited about the team that's on it.
Let me say, the Jim Lee art didn't blow my mind.
Oh, how dare you, man.
Come
on.
Here's the thing. Like,
you don't love pouches?
It was such a seamless transition from the book, the main book to this preview. And I was like, oh, I liked it less. Is all I'm saying. Wow. I don't want to be. I'm not being hugely negative, but I was like,
Justin Tyler coming out saying Jim Lee bad now.
Yeah, what the fuck?
No, I'm not saying Jim Lee bad. I'm not saying Jim Lee bad. Just
I have it on the tape. That's literally. Do you want me to play it back? Because I'll play
I think I said King of San Diego. Just to be
He is that.
Who could even say? Who could doubt? West Coast Avengers #1 from Marvel, written by Gerry Duggan, art by Danny Kim. Here we're spinning off of Gerry Duggan's run on Iron Man. This was heavily teased there. This is sort of a work release Avengers is the joke they make in the book, where Iron Man and War Machine are putting together what's supposed to be a team of villains, but mostly it's Ultron and Blue Bolt, a guy we've never met before, as well as Spider-Woman, who was previously a villain, and Firestar, who has hit on some real rough times. This felt like, talking about seamless, like a very seamless pickup from Gerry's Iron Man run down to the narration was exactly the same. So while I like the idea in general, I'm not quite sold on the team dynamic. I do like what Gerry did on Iron Man, so generally I like this here as well.
Yeah, I mean, GD handling business on this. This is fun because I always wanted to see, Ultron do multiplicity, and I feel like this is a fun idea. You know what I mean? So
you've always wanted to see that?
Always wanted that.
The movie Multiplicity, but with Ultron instead.
As soon as I walked out of the theater of seeing Multiplicity, I'd be like, this is funny, and I like what Michael Keaton did, but imagine if Ultron did it. You know what
That's
I mean?
so weird. I thought the same thing with Mr. Mom.
Huh.
Yeah.
Weird.
Any Michael Keaton movies you thought of, Justin?
Yeah.
Birdman?
Replacing Michael Keaton with Ultron?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gung Ho? What were you thinking? Like, what was the...
Yeah, I will also say when I watched Dope Sick on Hulu, I thought the same thing.
Yes.
Nice.
I feel like we could see Michael Keaton as Batman in The Flash, which is sort of the most iconic Michael Keaton performance, right?
Yeah,
that should be Ultron for sure. Just that one specifically.
Great. So we got some setup from me, a joke from Pete. Justin, anything you want to toss in?
I agree with you. I really liked Gerry Duggan's run on Iron Man. Especially, there's a lot of White Queen mentioning here, a relationship I would like to see have more effect and maybe even come back to.
It seems like Iron Man's pining.
It's happening in not only this book, but another Iron Man-based book we're going to talk about. I agree with you. This one's woolly, this book, this title so far. Which is what West Coast Avengers should be. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind giving it that time to establish. The Ultron of it all feels intense, and they don't give us any quarter on like, here's why this is happening. Especially there's some stuff that happens in the last few pages. So I'm like, oh, you're just going to tell us
it
two
seems
wild
like there's
things?
A good Ultron and then a crazy dark Ultron.
You definitely don't have to explain that to me, but I will say that it is sort of, we're dropped cold into this idea that Ultron is this way. But I like the way it ends up.
I'm a fan of West Coast Avengers. Like you said, that was always the we're a bunch of messed up screw-ups who are mostly hanging out by the pool and causing our own problems, is my view on that title when it is at its best. So I think that's what they're kind of going for here. But having a team with 3 people, including Ultron, in armor who are kind of essentially the same thing. Spider-Woman was like, I don't want to be here. I have other things to do. Firestar, who isn't here yet, and Blue Bolt, who we've never met before. It's it's tough to wrap your brain around like what
Yes.
this is, but
And it throws us in like as if we know what's happening, and we definitely don't. I will say the Firestar inclusion is what I'm the most excited about.
I thought that was great. Without spoiling her status quo, that's a very dramatically palpable place to put her.
Yes. Especially in relation to Iron Man.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, though. I'm looking forward to issue 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Ooh. Does that come after issue 1, or is it usually what
Fingers crossed, Alex. We don't know.
Okay, we'll see. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #4 from IDW, written by Jason Aaron, art by Chris Burnham. This is the 4th sort of solo issue focusing on one of the turtles. Here we're getting Donatello, who is maybe worst off of all of his turtle brothers. He has been captured by a mutant hunting zoo that he is basically trying to protect everybody.
In Fight Club, basically.
Yeah, it's basically Fight Club. He's very skinny. He's got skinny little arms and skinny little legs. And there's a thing that happens in this issue that I thought was great that I'm sure Pete absolutely hated.
You talking about Splinter?
I'm talking about Splinter.
Oh, man, that was really fucked up, man. That was really fucked up, man.
I thought
Especially
it was great.
because
Classic Jason Aaron.
It was the rat was clearly dead, and the fact that he was
Spoiler here: there is a rat that Donatello thinks is Splinter because I believe in this continuity Splinter is dead, and he's like, "This is Splinter. It's just a regular rat." By the end of the issue, the rat is dead with a ninja star sticking out of it.
shuriken.
To be fair, Splinter was just a regular rat.
Yes,
originally.
yes,
Let's
that
not
is very
forget.
true. And
the
seems like
ninja star's a big clue that he's been doing ninja stuff.
So I feel like that's probably going to be a running thing, that crazy Donatello has a dead rat with a ninja star on it on his shoulder the entire time.
No, it can't be the entire time. Come on, that's not going to be a thing.
It's going to happen.
I think it is going to be a thing. I mean, I agree. The way that Jason Aaron has positioned all the different turtles is really fun and interesting. There's a panel near the end of the book where we see them all standing together, and it's like, whoa, Donatello is fucked up. So that was wild. I also like the way that they really do a bit of a continuity dump in the first few pages where they're like, he's like, I traveled through time. It's crazy to be here. I have a mechanical shell, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, we're done with all that. He's just fighting people in a prison zoo. So that was a well done transition out of the past and into the future, I thought.
Well, and also, I think it was a really well done story in terms of putting Donatello in a place where he absolutely cannot do machines, and then having him figure out how to do machines, I thought was very nicely written and nicely done. Also, Chris Burnham is just perfect for this stuff. Like, his Donatello, like you said, is so fucked up throughout here. It was great.
It was painful to see Donatello so old and messed up. It was really just...
he's not old. He's
skinny.
He looked
not
like
all
he got...
skinny people are old.
It looks like he
not
got
all old
lost
people
in
are
time.
skinny.
It kind of looks like he, moved forward in time, and the turtles stayed kind of young. So it was a little... I was just kind of like, this is breaking my heart to see him like this. And then I felt old, and I was like, oh, God. What's really happening here?
Wait, you felt old because he's old?
Yeah. And then I was like, do I talk to two dead rats and don't know it? I mean, like...
That's Alex.
Yeah. I really started questioning.
We got bad news, buddy. We're your splinters.
There's
We're
no
your splinters.
podcast.
We're just sitting on your
But
shoulders.
the
and you're
art
in a
is
basement.
amazing, and I am enjoying this book.
You like this comic?
Well, Justin Rat's being mouthy about this one, and Alex Rat is a bunch of information.
Black Canary, Best of the Best, #1 from
Yes.
DC Comics, written by Tom King, art by Ryan Sook. This is, I believe, a 6-issue series. Excuse me. Where
Infectious.
where Black Canary and Lady Shiva are facing off to see who is the best hand-to-hand fighter in the DC universe. Meanwhile, there's flashbacks going on to explain how she is training with her mom to get there. There's some secrets. There's some twists. Pete, you seem psyched about this one, so take it away.
Yeah, this is a great issue. It's nice to spend some time with Black Canary, and we also get a little quality time with her mom, because it knows, like, in life, if you got to go battle somebody, you go visit your parents first. You know what I mean? Like, you go home, you touch base a little bit, and I thought this was really kind of a nice change of pace, and it was nice to see Black Canary kind of in this setting and how she got herself there and what's going to happen. And also what's nice is we're riding along and being like, you're taking on Lady Shiva in hand to hand? You can't use powers? Like, this doesn't look good for you, Black Canary. So it's interesting to see how we kind of got ourselves here and how we're going to get ourselves out. But also, best of the best. I mean, that's a great movie, a classic, So it was nice. The title was also got me, too. So
yeah, another hyper-specific take from Tom King. I mean, Pete, you don't like that Black Canary goes home, but she's training for a fight, and she goes home to her mom, who's also a fighter. It makes sense.
No,
what would you go home to
like
your
that.
parents to learn if you had to do?
Well, yeah, whenever I feel like I'm losing my rage, I go hang out with my parents a little bit, and then I just get it all back. So
well, happy Thanksgiving to you, then. I
thank
guess.
you very much. Yeah.
But this is fantastic. I think that Tom King just is so great at just framing a story and framing characters. Like, he's done it a million times. This one, we're seeing and mostly hearing the fight through the announcers as we're seeing Black Canary get ready for the fight. There's some twists and turns when it comes to what she's doing during the fight and why. There's an emotional core to the story that we love. The Ryan Sook art is different than so much Ryan Sook art from the past, but still amazing. It's so much
great.
more like superhero-y and definitional on so many. Just this cover, like Black Canary's like arm musculature feels like it's such a different type of art for Ryan Sook. So loving that. There's a great big spread featuring all of the bunch of Justice League characters watching the fight, which is very funny. Green Arrow looks like one of the Kelsey brothers, weirdly, I thought. I was like, okay, interesting take. But this, like the book we're going to talk about next, are the same. Really framing a story around a fight.
Yes, exactly the same down to the plot. Venom War #5 from Marvel, written by Al Ewing, art by Iban Coello. As Justin said, they both take place in a wrestling ring, so they're basically the same book, and we can evaluate them in the exact same way. This is the final issue of Venom War, and it's all come down to this: who will be Venom, Dylan Brock or Eddie Brock? We know from them already teasing the next series, neither of them. And
no Brock.
The thing, here's what I liked about this, and I also didn't like about it at the same time.
Whoa.
There's a lot going on here. The continuity, like we've been talking about all along, of Venom has become over the top, cosmic, insane, multiverse, time travel weirdness. And this book, I think laudably so, is like, let's wrap all of that up and then move on back to a much simpler place, which I'm like, great, that's awesome. But to get there, so much happens at the same time, when the most fun I was happening with this book is where it's closer to Black Canary, where it's just like Venom suplexing a dude in the middle of the wrestling ring. That's fun. The other stuff, I'm like, please stop talking about Blood Spear, the Necrosword, or whatever we're talking about here.
You like?
I do think
the throat slam that he did was real nice. It was
a nice throat slam.
Yeah, it was.
I do think this book does do a good job of keeping the wrestling alive. Like, I don't know what the pitch was for this, but it definitely feels like it was like, I'm going to do a wrestling story that cleans up a million symbiote continuity issues. And that's what they did, while also incorporating All Blood the Necrospear. A huge fan favorite.
Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of like a fun, over-the-top ridiculousness, because it's like, I almost feel like, when the iPhone started running out, they were like, let's make it gold. It was like, we got to have the gold Venom show up and save the day. I was like, how are we out of colors? Like, what is happening? Like, but
we are.
There is part of my brain that just enjoyed the over-the-top insanity that Venom War has been bringing to us, even though It's a lot of talking about swords, but I still enjoy the violent nature of this comic and the amazing artwork, and it didn't get too goopy, which I appreciated. So I thought this was pretty good. And then the cliffhanger kind of last panel there of what's going to happen was fun.
In the midst of all the chaos and all of there's a bit of the story where it's just like literally cutting between goops, being like, he's a puddle. Yeah. He's mad. Like, I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was really kind of funny the way it cut to that one puddle, dude. I was like, do we need it?
But I do. That is part of the story. So, like, that's not a negative when I'm saying that. But then we got a real nice emotional impact with Venom being the narrator and then Venom making a sacrifice at the end here. I thought it was actually really nice and really sweet in the midst of a chaotic story to have, like, an emotional moment. And very smartly tuned to have Venom be the narrator and then do this sacrificial move for the characters that he the symbiote loves. I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a fun positive spin that you're talking about there, Justin. It's like sometimes you can feel like a puddle on the floor, but you're still a part of the story, man. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right. And we were all there at the Venom War.
That's right.
I just want to give a quick shout out to the Venom horse one-pager that went around in the back here, which was great. And wrapped up great, and that was my favorite page of the issue. Love Venom horse. Hornsby and Halo, #1 from Ghost Machine and Image Comics, written by Peter J. Tomasi, art by Peter Snejbjerg. We were just talking the previous week about the Rocket Fellers kicking off the Family Odysseys universe. And Justin, you very snarkily were like, are we going to see more of that? Well, take that, Justin.
Yeah, Justin.
I will take that, because here's the thing. I'm even more excited about it. It's the Peter J. Tomasi imprint of this universe, which
He's putting his whole Tomasi into this.
Oh, yes. Wow. I love Peter J. Tomasi. I think he's a great writer, and to have both of these books hanging out in their own imprint, shouts to the Family Odysseys. I'm going on one starting tomorrow.
Just to give a brief recap or explanation of what this book is. So the setup is a little bit like the whole New Gods thing, except with angels and demons. Heaven and hell are having a big war. They make a pact by basically trading their kids. Except
just trade babies when you can't win an argument.
I'm doing that. I'm doing that with my enemy.
Smart.
Yeah.
How old is too old to trade a baby?
Are there any wars in the world where you think that might work? You guys go first.
Wow. Strong.
I think all the wars. I think it would fix all the wars.
Anyway, they trade babies, but they bring them down to Earth. So the angel baby ends up with the bad family, and the demon baby ends up with the good family. So as they specifically say in the story, the idea is what's more important, nature or nurture. As we catch up with the kids at around age 13, I want to say, we discover that, it's a little bit of both. And then they discover that at night they get angel powers and demon powers and
only in their dreams
superhero costumes. What'd you think about this?
We set up a romance here?
I hope so. I can't wait for this meet cute. Are you kidding me? They can only they fight on the same side in their dreams. It's a beautiful idea. And what's wrong with being raised in a morgue is my question. There's nothing wrong with it. Well,
I mean, a lot of people
mortuary. It was mortuary.
Yeah, he's not raised in a morgue by dead people.
It seems like,
he just, one of my good friends in high school was the eldest son of a family that ran a funeral home. So, like, he hung out in that mortuary all the time. So,
that seems
this is real.
Is he all right?
Having corpses around? Do you think that's weird?
No.
Nice. Good.
What did you guys think about this book? Sorry to interrupt. Whatever.
Yeah, sorry. I just have a lot of questions. Like, is this guy okay? Like, do you think it ruined his life? Anyways, no. I thought this was a fun first issue. I love the kind of setup here and a classic. I can't wait to see if these two meet in real life and if they'll fall in love. And, these people raised on different sides of the tracks. I mean, I've never seen a story like this. It just seems
the ultimate
so
tracks.
improbable.
Heaven and hell.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed this. Like, they already have met, and they, I think, will continue to meet in their more supernatural sides. Fun book.
Green Arrow, number 18 from DC Comics, written by Chris Condon, art by Montos. We are getting a brand new status quo for Oliver Queen. He is back to his ecological liberal vigilante days, working out of a dirty old apartment, putting deodorant on in the middle there, watching TV. Other things are going on as he explores a series of murders happening in the city. Pete, I'm curious to hear from you, since you were so mad at him. How do you feel about this fresh start with the Freshwater Killer?
Well,
you still mad?
Yeah, I'm still mad, bro.
You mad, bro?
I'm still mad, yeah. But this is an interesting kind of case to solve, and I think this is good art, and it's a cool setup for a story. So I'll stick around and see what happens. Yeah.
Wow. Non-committal. Pete, you're like, you just ran into an ex, Green Arrow, and you're like, yeah, it's cool. She's hanging out. You're going to be dating again in a second. You're going to be in love with Green Arrow again in like 2 issues. I know it.
We'll see.
We'll see. Shouts to Chris Condon. From That Texas Blood, one of my favorite writers out there, coming to DC, giving us some Green Arrow. This seems fun. It seems like we're getting into some nitty-gritty crime, murder stuff. I think the art matches the tone in a really nice way. I like this new direction.
I definitely agree with you. Nothing against what Joshua Williamson was doing with Green
I also
Arrow.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, this is more my mode, though. Like, I like this better. Green Arrow being, like, fighting eco-terror on the streets. And like you said, I thought Montos' art was great. There's a really nice transition on the same page from Oliver Queen looking at a photo in the present and then flashing back to it. This is the colorist, and I should have looked up the colorist, but the color changes. It's just nicely done. It's a nice transition from one scene to another. I thought it was good stuff, and I'm looking forward to more. The Uncanny X-Men, number 6 from Marvel, written by Gail Simone, art by Javier Garrón. Lots of stuff going on in this issue as the kids all go to regular human school for a change. Meanwhile, Rogue, Wolverine, and Gambit are bonding over Wolverine's dead army buddies. Jubilee and Nightcrawler go into town to get some stuff. I've really liked this title. This issue felt very busy and frankly a little confusing.
A lot going on in this ish.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alex. This was my least favorite of the series so far. It felt a little just all over the place, and I like some of the moves, but especially the Wolverine Rogue's like, he's upset, and I was like, what? It felt just like very top line, sort of like, here's the story points, but we don't actually get to. There's not enough air, not enough time to let this stuff breathe. The idea that Wolverine is upset because this tequila bottle came to him, and it means he has PTSD because his army buddies are dead. That's an intense amount of information and an emotional intensity. You need to give us a minute to understand exactly what is meant here. In the midst of like Jubilee being kidnapped and
maybe dead.
Nightcrawler,
and
so there's a lot going on.
Horse Girl was stolen, and I agree with what Justin's saying. There's a lot that goes down where you're just kind of like, what? Wait, oh shit. Oh no! And it just keeps coming. So you don't have time to process because the next thing just keeps coming. So interesting, but I would like, I need a little time to process.
I do wonder if a lot of information needs to be jammed in there because they're about to head into a crossover.
That's exactly what I was about to say. We're spinning into a crossover with the Jubilee side of the story, and it felt like it was like you have to tell this then, and the story was like, no, I'm doing this Wolverine and student thing. Yeah. So it definitely felt a little cramped.
They're each their own issue, like you're saying, the whole thing about Wolverine, Gambit, and Rogue dealing with Wolverine's PTSD, that's an issue. The kids going to school for the first time, that's an issue. And the stuff with Horse Girl was very fun in the issue, so I don't want to think it was worthless. Nightcrawler and Jubilee, probably not its own issue, but maybe the B plot or something like that. So it also, per what I was saying with the previous thing, the layouts, it kept jumping between the action on the same page, which made it hard to follow as well. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not mad about this series, but this issue was a little bit odd. And just a real quick to shout out the Green Arrow colorist, Adriano Lucas.
Thank you. Next up, Serpent to the Garden, Ed Gray in the Last Battle for England, #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by written by Mike Mignola, art by Ben Stenbeck. This takes place after the events of Hellboy and BPRD, so the entire world has been fried except for England, where there is a woman named Alice who is there. Another woman, Morgan Le Fay, wants to attack her, and stuck in the middle is Ed Gray, who was a regular supernatural detective, and he's certainly not by the end.
Oh man, yeah, he's
a Swamp Thing, sort of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, this was fun to go back to the Hellboy world. It's just, they definitely were super clear about like, hey, listen, Hellboy's still dead. Okay, he died twice. All right, so don't get any crazy ideas. But we're still kind of going back and dealing with the aftermath, which is nice because I'm just like, oh, Mike Mignola, thank you. Like, let's get into this. Come on, man. I need Hellboy in my life here. So I'm glad we're starting this story. But also it's super messed up, and I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. So, I guess Avalon's a pretty important place.
Yeah, England. This story feels it's the cleanest continuation of the Hellboy universe in quite some time. And I don't know what Mike Mignola's plans are for Hellboy, but the amount of time that is spent talking about Hellboy makes me feel like this series, it's 3 issues, I think, might be a real bridge into potentially some more Hellboy down the line. I have no inside knowledge about this. It's pure speculation.
No, you don't know
but
that.
It struck me. We've seen a lot of series in the Mignola-verse that are just like, this exists. This one felt very Hellboy pointed.
Is it an elaborate setup for Pigman and the Fish spinoff? You know what I mean? Because those are the real stars of this.
Well, grab your monkey's paw, Pete, and make your wish. Pig Boy and the Fish or Hellboy? You choose.
Why do we have to choose? Why can't we?
Great art from Ben Stenbeck. He's a perfect compliment to Mike Mignola. This is weird, but we know what kind of weird it is because it's the kind of weird we like from Hellboy and the BPRD. So it's nice to see more of that.
Nice to be back there. Yeah.
Absolute Wonder Woman #2 from DC Comics, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Hayden Sherman. This issue, we are getting a couple of things. Same sort of structure as the first issue, where Wonder Woman is fighting some monsters on the beach. She gets called in by the army, but the big draw of this issue is we get this absolute version of Steve Trevor, who's similar to the regular version, washed up on her island in hell somehow. We get to see the burgeoning relationship there. I will tell you what, I don't know if I'm stepping on you, Pete, saying this, but when Steve came out of the mist, the way that Hayden Sherman drew that and Wonder Woman's reaction of like her eyes going wide, my heart skipped a beat.
You fell in love.
You
fell in love.
I did. I felt it.
You fell in love with Steve.
The emotion in this book, like the first issue between her and Cersei, the second issue between her and Steve Trevor.
Yeah. This is great. This is why this is one of my favorite of the week. And I'm a sucker for Wonder Woman and Steve's story, and the fact that like even though Wonder Woman was born in hell, Steve still found a way to her. Just gets me, man.
That guy will crash an airplane anywhere.
He doesn't care where you are. I'm coming for you, baby. I'm coming for you.
If you got an island, he will wash up on it. That's a promise.
Beautiful.
That guy is voted most.
That guy believes in love. Yeah. He believes in it. He'll go wherever you are.
I was thinking about this recently. How is it when you fall in water? Are you just alive and you wash up somewhere? How are you breathing? This happens in so many stories. Is it just your mouth that happens to be floating?
You're floating on your back.
Yeah, man. That's how you float.
The tide brings you to shore.
You crash and you just land on your back?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm suspect. This is a storytelling device.
Wait, so your problem with this story is that how floating bodies were portrayed in all media, and now
I'm just saying, how was everybody washing up? I think what's squashing up most of the time is a corpse. And here we have a guy who's like, cough, cough, I'm alive and I'm in love. Okay, maybe once. This guy washes up everywhere.
Would you have liked it better if like a corpse washed up?
Yeah,
and she was like,
fell in love with the corpse.
Steve.
Yeah. I love this corpse. And we had a Swiss Army Man type story is what we need.
Very good, by the way.
I agree with you. I love that movie. More seriously, this is fantastic. The art's amazing. This story, it feels like all of these Absolute stories, is such a great iteration of our Trinity characters that is both fun, exciting. The art is so dynamic. You're just leaned in so hard on all of these. It's great. But my question for you two is, why is Wonder Woman such a magnet for big artistic swings from both writers and artists? Like, I feel like in the last decade, we've had so many banger Wonder Woman takes.
I would venture that it has a lot to do with the reason that Tom King professed that he wanted to write Wonder Woman, is that she is not treated by comic book fans on the same level as Batman and Superman, even though she should be. And so everybody is always trying to get her over that hill of being on the same level that we all want her to be on as comic book fans. But for whatever reason, particularly when it comes to sales, she's not. That would be my guess.
Interesting. So it's more of the challenge of being like, this character is worthy. It's just no one has done it. I will bring her.
They have done it, but it hasn't stuck. Like, you had George Perez do it, and his run is phenomenal. Gail Simone had a great run. There have been other ones. Greg Rucka, I think, did a really good run as well. Yes,
loved Rucka's run.
So there's been really good runs.
Cliff Chiang.
Cliff Chiang. Yes,
that was
Brian
with
Azzarello.
Rucka.
Yeah, Brian Azzarello, Cliff Chiang. The Michael W. Conrad, Becky Cloonan run was really good. Like, there's been really good runs, but it's definitely like
Gail Simone.
It doesn't stick to sales the same way that Batman definitely does and Superman often does.
Interesting.
I just think Wonder Woman is an interesting character because depending on who's writing her, there's different traits to her. There's different things you can focus on in Wonder Woman. She has such an interesting background, and there's different takes on her. Like, sometimes she's just more of a badass and not as, warm to humankind. And
so you're saying it's a mix of like modernity as well as all the deep mythological underpinning at the same time.
Yeah.
I was gonna say she has a cool.
That's what people are saying.
I was gonna say she just has a cool hat.
A cool hat?
The tiara.
Oh, yeah.
That's a hat.
Yeah.
It's a tiara, dude. Put some respect.
No, it's a hat.
Yeah, it's a hat.
Put it on your head. It's a hat.
Where would you buy a tiara?
Definition of
a hat store, right?
Hat store.
Yeah. Nope. That's not
Walk into a hat store, say, show me your tiaras.
I'll see the tiaras, please.
Right,
milliner.
way, sir.
Hey, excuse me, milliner. Please bring out the tiaras.
Absolutely, sir.
He's mad as a tiara manufacturer, they say.
Oh, my God. What is happening?
Iron Man #2 from Marvel, written by Spencer Ackerman, art by Julius Ota. I think we were a little mixed on the first issue to this, so I'm curious to hear what we thought about the second one, as Iron Man continues to have a very long beard, and one of those things you put around your neck when you kind of like hurt your neck and you got to keep it stiff. He's wearing that, and also he has a new armor, and the Dr. Druid is here.
Yeah.
I like this take. I think Iron Man books lately go back and forth in the last 5-10 years, go back and forth between armor, gotta do armor stuff, and corporation, gotta do corporate stuff. And I think this book is charting a path in between those two things.
In between?
No, it seems like the corporation thing is a pretty big deal.
No, it's doing all of those things.
Yeah. Yes, it's doing all of. That's what I mean by in between.
Yeah,
it's
this is
sucking
a
up all
pick-a-mix book.
But I agree, and I will say the first half I was not sure where the focus is here. But when Dr. Druid shows up and mind fucks my guy Tony Stark, I liked that part.
Yeah, you like a good mind fucking?
I like the idea of an Iron Man who's off kilter, as always, but doing some self-examination and shouts to the White Queen. His true love.
That's why you're
his
really
true
here.
Love.
That's why you're really here.
His true love.
You talk about like the armor and stuff like that, and spoilers here, but that badass sword reveal was like a lot of fun. So, I thought this was a great issue. Tony's struggling with the fact of like, should I sell out to these two very clearly evil organizations? I read comics. I know Roxxon's not good. AIM's no good. So yeah, I feel like this is interesting, and I'm all for it.
One of the other things I really liked about this was Tony Stark has like Chat GPT essentially in his armor, and it sucks. And I loved that. That's a smart take.
Yeah, ChatGPT sucks, so there you go. It's very realistic. Welcome to the Maynard #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by James Robinson, or as I like to call him, J-Bone.
Oh, J-Bone. My boy J-Bone, making it happen again.
Art by J-Bone. We had them on the live show a couple of weeks back, and they talked about this book, and so you can go listen to that. They spoiled a lot for upcoming stuff.
They did.
Yes.
But the basic idea here is Hotel for Magical Creatures. We're following a new bellhop who has been hired by the hotel, but is also secretly the hotel's new detective and investigating a teleporting mystery there. I thought this was very charming throughout.
Yeah, this was a ton of fun. We talked about this before, but yeah, the art style is really kind of light and brings a cool tone to this because there's a magical fun element to this kind of hotel, which I think was really cool. We get a shout out to Pip here with the main character, R.I.P. Much love to Pip.
My dog Pip that died last year. Just a little backstory. Hard to name check Pip and be like, I know exactly what you mean.
Well,
Pip from Midsummer Night's Dream.
We
R.I.P.
T-shirts made. Pip don't slip. I mean,
I would argue Pip the troll from Marvel Comics might be the first.
Sure, they all died.
They all died.
Oh man, Jesus!
All Pips died, they say.
Jesus Christ, bro. But yeah, I think this is a great first issue. Very excited about what's to come.
I also enjoyed this. Really, the art's fantastic. The story is just ushering into this new world, which is really fun. I mentioned this in our interview, but the way this world opens up to our character as well as the reader is really exciting. And they have a lot of stories in mind, as we talked about, so get in.
The old first day on the job.
Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns, #1 from DC Comics, written by Jeff Parker, art by Lucas Kettner. This is a sequel to a delightful Christmas treat from last year. That was a 4-issue series, I believe. That was a 5-issue one that's going to be coming out weekly. And kind of per the title, Santa Claus Returns, yes?
The biggest question is here, that I have here is this the most fuckable Santa?
Wow, dude.
No,
really?
Klaus, the Grant Morrison one.
Interesting. Yes.
Wow.
That guy's
I thought you were going to say...
this guy's jacked.
JK
Klaus is more jacked than
one.
Silent Night. I'm sorry.
Wow, Alex.
Classic comic
line
book
in the
debate.
sand. Yeah. Name
Write
the
us
most
in.
fuckable Santa. Hit us in the comments. Definitely hit us on iTunes.
I can't believe that is your third... You're like, wow, this is a fuckable Santa.
Here's the thing.
On the show.
All I'm
I
saying...
would return him if he...
hello.
My takeaway from this
my
is
sack.
like, wait, if you put up a Christmas tree, does that mean Santa can hear everything you say all the time? Like, this is a real, like, Santa Spygate situation here.
Yeah. Why do you even need Elf on the Shelf in that case?
Yeah, exactly.
You already
It's
got
the trees. The
Tree
real
on the
spy.
Bee. You know what I'm talking about?
Wow. Way to really upset the Santa industrial complex with your Elf on the
Anyway,
Shelf take
all
down.
of the heroes are taken. Damian Wayne doesn't know what to do, so he visits Zatanna, and Santa Claus shows up to help them. Turns out it's some monsters from the old world that are threatening Christmas and all of the DC heroes. Another delight. I'm really looking forward to reading this over the next couple of weeks.
I really like Jeff Parker as a writer. We don't get enough from him in just comics anymore these days, so it's nice to see him back. These stories are fun, and this Santa is very jacked.
Yeah, this is fun. It's a blast. Great art.
Amazing Spider-Man number 62 from Marvel, written by Joe Kelly, art by Ed McGuinness. In this issue, Spider-Man has been recruited by Doctor Doom to take on the Scions of Cyttorak, who are threatening the entire world. If Spider-Man loses, the world is lost. He has only 8 deaths to...
Eight deaths of Spider-Man.
I don't know how to finish that. But yeah, he can die a bunch of times and come back is the point. So in this issue, he is facing down one of the Scions right on a baseball field. But Justin, I wanted to ask you, we had a whole discussion in the last issue about Peter Parker's girlfriend, Shay, and you were really going to bat for her and how great she was. She shows up this issue again. How are you feeling? Are you still really into the relationship? And once again, I just want to challenge you. Mention one thing about her.
Yes, no, I hear you. I think I said last time, we're not doing a ton of character development here.
Yeah.
What I was saying last time, and I will continue to reiterate, I want Peter Parker to be in a relationship, a romantic relationship with someone, and Shay is who that person is right now, so I want more of it. The fact that she continues to appear means I feel like at least this relationship is potentially going somewhere. But I agree with you. It's strange to have her continually show up and be like, not a part of the story in any way. And he's like, hey, sorry, I have to go in a portal now. Definitely want more of that. Because in this issue, we definitely get more of the Peter Black Cat relationship, which I thought was very fun. Mm-hmm. Another relationship I will go to bat for.
Yeah, I mean, the fun part was the fact that we got Spider-Man being Spider-Man. You know what I mean? He was being awkward. He was like, and she was like, I'm single now. And then somebody else was like, you blew that one. And so, yeah, because even in this issue, Spider-Man's like, I can't be me because I have to say spells, so I can't quip or be funny or any of these things. So... this is tough. I mean, right in the title, you got the 8 deaths of Spider-Man. So you're like, hey, buckle up. We got 8 issues of Spider-Man getting his ass handed to him. So I hope you're ready to see him die
that's every
8
issue,
times.
sort of.
Well, maybe, but it doesn't have to be like set up like that. You know what I mean? So I was not excited by what the title is promising here. And then... we've got this thing, and it's nerve-wracking because Spider-Man's not really doing his homework, and then he's rushed to somewhere else, and then I'm like, dude, you should be studying these spells, and then he's got to go up against, these, you got to play a tag to death and know all the spells, and you're just like, oh, man, he didn't do his work. I don't know if he's going to make it through this thing.
I do think that's it's played as a very essential Peter Parker Spider-Man attitude. But this is a topic I want to talk about here and then in another book in a little bit. Like when a new creative team takes over,
right?
Do you like a big swerve like what we're getting here, where we came off of Zeb Wells, who was very like gang war, very New York, dealing with the bosses and all of that, and now we're dealing with cosmic death, Doctor Strange stuff. Like, do you like the big swerve when a new team takes over?
I mean, if it's a fun swerve, if it's an interesting idea and you want to see it, what's going to happen, then yes. But
I would definitely say yes. I would always rather have a take. I mean, not to jump back to something we just talked about, but I think that's what Chris Condon is doing with Green Arrow, and I think that works effectively there. If he just continued with the Arrow family stuff and jumping through time or whatever else, I'd be kind of disappointed to read that versus like... no, I want to see what Chris Condon is going to write. Here, very specifically, and I don't know if this is jumping ahead of your point or away from it, but I kept checking myself mentally while I was reading this issue because I generally don't like Spider-Man magic stuff. Like, I do want him dealing with down on the street stuff. But the reason this works for me is because, like we've been saying, Joe Kelly writes such a great Peter Parker, who is way in over his head at absolutely all points, keeps screwing up, but ultimately figures out a way out of the problem. To me, that is essential Spider-Man. That's what he keeps focused on the entire time, and that's why this is working for me.
I agree with you. I think this is the most grounded version of Magic Spider-Man that I think that could be doing. And this is not a critique of any of the creative teams on it, but it's more of an editorial thing. Like, I wish there was more easing in. I think there should be like a bridge a little bit between big creative swings. even though
You
it's
mean
a new
just
team.
like a barbecue where they're hanging out playing basketball or something like that? Or like a
Yeah, the
baseball?
ultimate bridge. Anytime I'm trying to bridge two things, I go to the park and I shoot some hoops and
Sweet.
eat some chicken.
Yeah.
But I mean more
Shout
like
outs to chicken.
I feel like that used to be nice.
Yeah.
I feel like that used to be the way that it was done, where like there was a smooth transition, and now it's very
real
much
quick.
like
Sorry, what would you do if chicken shouted back at you? Just right.
if chicken was like shout out to Pete.
Yeah.
All of chicken, the
Big
Purdue chicken guy is like shout out to Pete LePage. Come down to any of our facilities and hang.
Anytime you want some
want.
chicken.
That would be a problem because that's where I would die. Hours
Why would you
after
die
the ride.
there?
I would OD on chicken, man.
You could do that right
This guy
now.
loves
You don't
chicken.
need you don't need chicken
Yeah.
to shout back at you.
You can
Chicken
just eat
is
chicken.
available so many places. Like
I feel like
basically
you
any-
know that, Pete. I feel like you're eating a lot of chicken.
Honestly,
guy's
name a
chicken.
store. You're going to be hard pressed to come up with a store that does not have chicken.
Doesn't have chicken. Listen, what I want to get to is what are we doing with this stupid relationship? Give me MJ or give me nothing. Why the fuck are we doing this?
Okay, listen. I know I was being a jerk there at the beginning, Justin, but my
Big
issue with
time.
the Shay thing, wasn't she with the mean lawyer that he met in the previous arc?
Yes.
That was
And
interesting to me. Like, I know she can't be mean lawyer long term, but the idea that at least it was a different character than Black Cat, than Mary Jane, or anything like that, like giving us some sort of flavor. Now, like you were describing, all
Those are
she's
two
doing-
very different people. Why are you saying it like they're the same person?
All I'm saying is I want
Those are
somebody
people he
who has
dated.
some characteristics to them. Right
Well-
now, she is funny person who stands there
Very
usually with
supportive.
one other character who's like, quip about Spider-Man, see you later, and that's it.
Well, what I think it is again what I was talking about different creative teams coming in is like she was set up, I think, as a character, and then I think there's interest to keep her around, but she doesn't fit into this story.
Who's like, oh yeah, let's have Shay.
The creative team, like they're keeping her. They added her to this story. You know, she didn't ask to be included. They wrote her in.
Big Shay's behind this.
Yeah.
Big Shay.
But I do think it's like let's backburner this character and let's see what we want to do with her.
Sure.
Nothing.
Like a lot
We
of
shouldn't
characters.
be doing anything
I
with
mean,
her. We
from
should
a-
be getting back to the real relationship.
No. You
That-
gotta.
no one
you
thinks
can
that.
bring in other characters. You just got to do something with them. Like,
But I also think Norman Osborn occupies the same role. He's in this story as well, and he's like very much like, "Hey, I'm here, man. I
Well,
bought a
he's
pizza."
also like, why are you talking to me, man? Like,
100%. Like I
I'm
think
the wrong person.
keeping these characters on the stove, they're just it's a low
I
heat.
think that's fair. I think this is clearly a transitional run until they get whatever new permanent or semi-permanent.
And maybe it will be Joe Kelly, but like I do think
I don't think so
this-
because Joe Kelly isn't even writing this entire story. Justina Ireland is coming in, and then I think there's somebody else as well. So
this story
Joe
is
Kelly's
what
great.
it is, and it's not about the side characters. I
yeah,
think.
that's fair. All right, why don't we move on? We have lots more to talk about. Void Rivals, number 14 from Skybound and Image Comics, written by Robert Kirkman, art by Lorenzo Di Felici.
Kirkies.
In this issue, our Void Rivals are on very different paths. The male Void Rival, who I know the name of, but I'm just not saying out loud,
Very coy.
gets a new handroid. Meanwhile, the female
Talk to the handroid.
Void Rival is traveling deep under the planet to find out more about something that I definitely remember what it is, and I'm not going to tell you. And then, meanwhile, also Handroid Guy runs into Hot Rod the Transformer.
Yes!
But I want to give a
Wait.
shout out here.
Well, first thing, let me just say, sorry to interrupt you, Alex, but is
Yeah.
this the most fuckable hot rod that we've
Oh
ever
my God. What is your deal? Are you just walking around thinking about things to fuck? Like, what's your deal, bro?
Well, real quick, I mean, since you brought it up, who is the most fuckable Transformer? Probably
nice.
Megatron.
What?
Yeah.
Why would
Yeah.
you say Megatron?
Go right down the tube, you know what I'm
Talk
saying?
about
my
having,
God.
talk about having an answer on tap, having an answer ready to go. Pete, what's your answer? You're more familiar with the Transformers orifices.
Hey, do you think Optimus Prime, right before he has sex, is like, fucking me is the right of all sentient beings?
Oh my God.
Connect with my Allspark intimately.
Oh my God.
I think we have a working knowledge
Stop
of this. Sorry,
ruining
Alex.
my childhood. This is a great comic.
It's only
No,
ruining
we're
your
ruining
present
your
tense.
adulthood.
Exactly. Alex, you were saying something before I interrupted you.
Oh, I was going to say, it's... this is the issue where I turned from being like, what is going on here, to absolutely loving the Suxoid pages. The one page of just cutting to Suxoid being sad on his ship and being like, what am I doing? I have a family.
Yeah,
It's like
I have a family. What am I doing?
It's like reading the Lockhorns or something. I don't know what's going on.
That's really funny.
It
You
made
have
me laugh out
loved every panel of it. You love this book because of that, dude.
I don't know. It's clearly Robert Kirkman loves him too, and it doesn't connect to anything that's going on. It may never connect to anything that's going on, but it's just like, I don't know, made me laugh.
Well, and let me say, I do think this speaks to this. This book is a little disjointed. Like, there's that stuff that's happening. There's all of the very complex, like, dynastic stuff going on between these two cultures and two characters that connect them with a real, like, will they, won't they energy, which, like, that's cool. But there's just so much heat behind it. Like, I don't know where to put my energy, and there's just a lot of exposition. And then when you introduce Hot Rod shows up, and he's like, I'm fun, I'm just a spaceship. And I'm like, what? There's so many factions here. It feels a little fractured to me.
There is a lot going on, but the nostalgia factor is too high, and I'm having too much fun. And this is fun to see this Energon universe coming together like this here. So, yeah, this is just.
So wait, when you say Energon universe coming together, you mean Hot Rod appearing for like 3 pages?
Cobra La was also in there.
Yeah. Also, you got the quintessence, the little egghead looking things in there as well. So, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's from Energon?
Well, it's from Transformers world.
Huh.
The Transformers
Sick.
movie. Yeah.
Great. Give me an asterisk. Give me an asterisk with a little tell there. Maybe.
All right.
Nope. Just roll with it, man. Batman The Long Halloween. You know what? Actually, just to go back to this for 1 second, it is crazy that given there's a Transformers book and a G.I. Joe book, this is the one that's like, you better have watched the Transformers cartoon from the 80s or you're going to have no idea what's going on, man.
Yeah. A comic that has no Transformer in the title or anything. It's just like, hey, hope you know this too, buddy.
Anyway. Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, number 3 from DC Comics, written by Jeff Loeb, art by Mark Chiarello. We are continuing several mysteries happening in Gotham City, one of which is James Gordon's son has been kidnapped, but there's also a new holiday killer on the loose, and a bunch of other things are happening at the same time. I continue to have questions about this overall story. I'm not 100% sure what's happening with that, but really like the Mark Chiarello art. I thought the layouts were great.
Beautiful.
In particular in this issue.
I was going to highlight the art so hard as well. Like, it's really good. It's really specific. It adds so much context and flavor to this story that, like you're saying, Alex, is interesting, but hasn't really crystallized around like one narrative thrust. We're in like a mystery phase, but we're also sort of resolving some things like the James Gordon stuff. So I don't know. I really like this, but it's more about the other elements as opposed to the narrative drive.
Yeah, I also agree that the art's unbelievable, and we have some really great back matter here too, and a nice kind of shout out and homage to Tim Sale as well. So, I'm enjoying this. The nostalgia factor is very high, so I don't care if the story's getting weird. I'm still having such a great time with this, and it's interesting and fun.
Mystique, number 2 from Marvel by Declan Shalvey. Mystique is on the run, and in this issue is reuniting with her old Brotherhood of Evil Mutants partner, Avalanche. Meanwhile, Nick Fury's Junior and Senior are closing in on her as well. There's twists, there's turns, there's some great relationship stuff in here. This is great. Like, I was really blown away by the first issue. Didn't think the second one could really hold up to it, but it does. Declan is drawing the hell out of this book. The twists are great. There's great emotion here. There's great history. Good spy stuff. I'm really digging this book a lot.
And
it's a... Oh, good.
I was just going to say, and the cover is absolutely fantastic.
Great cover.
I mean, it gives away a little bit of what's to come.
Do you kind of feel like, though, that he's trying to eat her butt?
Wow, dude. Wow.
Avalanche is famously, he has a taste for butts.
What? He's
a butt.
I don't know. We got asked on the live show if there's anything we ever get uncomfortable with, and I took that as a challenge.
Okay, well, yeah.
You're nailing it.
You love butt stuff, so nice job. Yeah, I
don't love butt stuff. It just looks like Avalanche, the giant Avalanche is going to eat Mystique's butt on the cover. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Not in a sexual way, in a cannibal way.
Yeah, like how
cool,
Pac-Man's always chasing ghost butts.
Yeah. I don't like Mystique. She's a great villain in that way. What she does in this issue is really fucked up. So it was hard to watch. But, yeah, this is a great book. I love the art.
It's wild to have it be such a sort of spy, Nick Fury, Maria Hill book. So really,
they doubled
really cool.
down on the Fury, which is weird.
Well, and I agree. That's what I was going to say is like this book and like I guess the Marvel comic universe in general is like, no, there are two Nick Furies. And
just pick one.
Well, they're really owning it. I want them to continue to own it. Maybe this title is going to do that. But when old Nick Fury is like, Junior has it, I'm like, let's hear more about this relationship. Because that relationship has literally never been approached. It was meant as a swap, I think, because of the MCU. And then we haven't really gotten it. If older Nick Fury is back in the game, let's get into that. That's a title that I want to see. I also want to say one other thing. Do you think it's weird that Mystique in this fight, she keeps like taking on the shapes of other mutants? Why does she do that? Is she
I
just
think
like
that's smart tactically, right? You know, like.
But she's not disguising herself in this fight. She's just like, I'm Wolverine now.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're going to fight somebody and all of a sudden you got Wolverine in front of you, that's an oh shit moment. You might catch somebody off guard.
There's no time.
Tactical move.
I'll be honest, and I was thinking this while I was reading the sequence. I think it's because Declan Shalvey thinks it's cool, and it is.
No, definitely, but
pretty much the only reason is because it is fun to see her change from Blob to Wolverine to Pyro to whoever else she's changing into.
But my question is, does Mystique think that's cool? Is she just like, here's what I think is cool, I'm Nightcrawler now? Because like it's very much out of her character to do that. So like, really, if she's like, I want to have knives for hands, I think she would just become like a more like T-1000 like silver blob that has a knife hand.
Well, but there might be. What? I mean,
why was that more tactical than Wolverine? That doesn't make any sense.
Because why make the effort to make his yellow uniform?
I mean, I think there's a little bit of an identity thing going on here, right? Like, that's the theme that we're playing with, and we'll see how that pans out, both through the multiple Nick Furies and also what Mystique is going through.
What outfit would you put him in?
Because we haven't really gotten in her head at all at any point here. We don't know exactly what she wants or why she wants it or how she's going to get it. So I think there's more to come.
That's an interesting take, especially because another thing I like about this book is that Destiny narrates it. And that's who Mystique's trying to track down. And that very much could be, they lost touch after Krakoa. Her taking the form of all these other mutants may be sort of like a sounding rod of like touching base with all these other Krakoan characters.
Yeah, but it doesn't like excuse, like even if she has a good excuse, she still shot that poor lady. I mean, that was fucked up, man.
She's a bad guy.
And that person was a bad guy. Mm-hmm. You ever liked a character that just shot bad people without really investigating what the deal is?
Never in my whole life.
Interesting.
Feral, number 8 from Image Comics, written by Tony Fleecs, art by Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez. In this issue, we're kind of getting like a little bit of a riff on Stray Dogs, except with cats in this rabies apocalypse, where our main cats have been taken in by a crazy old lady who lives in a house with a bunch of other cats and
cat
keeps
lady.
them all crazy cat lady, keeps them all locked up in there. I I know we talked about this with like the last 2 issues, maybe. Like something just snapped in with this title for me. And this, again, is a very Walking Dead, very disturbing, but I'm really liking the upsetting directions this is heading in.
Huh.
Agreed. Still able, even though it is doing the, like, in a zombie apocalypse, walking into a village and being like, this seems cool. There's a definite underbelly problem going on here. This book still does a great job of using that sort of narrative structure and surprising with it. It was still deeply upsetting what happened in the back half of this book, and that's hard to do. I really enjoyed this book.
Yeah, Tony freaking Fleeks is writing the crap out of this. This is just a really epic story that keeps getting worse as we go, and it's that old what's in the box, man. It's like, don't go in that back room if you don't want to know the answer, and it's a bloody zombie apocalypse situation, and this continues to be creepy on many levels and keeps ramping us up in all these horrible directions, but it's amazing art and amazing stories, so I'm obliged.
Pete, as a crazy cat guy, do you feel offended that it's mostly crazy cat ladies being featured in our content?
I mean, there's stereotypes all over the place. It's just a part of society, and we got to deal with it. But, we got to keep fighting the good fight. You know what I mean?
When will you have 10 cats?
Soon.
Shouts.
It's a countdown.
Count up. Countdown?
It's a cat count up.
The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, number 13 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Tate Brombal, art by Isaac Goodhart. In this issue, Chris Cos, as I call him, and his gang are
cool.
Taking it is cool. Taking the teen werewolves on a tour. Meanwhile, Adam Frankenstein is battling one of those, I don't know, religious dudes who are always dressed in white in this series. And the things are crisscrossing with crisscross back.
They're Chris Chaosing, I think.
Yeah, Chris Chaosing. My big comment here is I really like the series, but I wish they would stop focusing on Adam Frankenstein, who is a good character, but seems to be taking over the book in a way where I'm like, can we get back to the Christopher Chaos stuff?
I agree with you. I think Adam Frankenstein is given so much like juice in this. Or, like, he's the big deal. I was like, is he? I thought he was just a regular sort of distant, reclusive guy, but suddenly he is very powered up here. I will say, artistically, the way these werewolves transform is awesome. You don't see it so viscerally and body horror focused done in any other werewolf book, so that's very cool. I like this story. If you're a fan of, we've maybe said this before, but if you're a fan of Buffy, this is a comic you should be reading.
Yeah, this is a cool issue. A lot happens, which is great, and Chris is always talking about his boy Adam. I mean, some people call him Adam Frankenstein, but he just goes by Adam to Chris. So first name dropping bases here. But fantastic art, cool ass story. More, please.
I call him A-Bone, but yeah. Detective Comics 1091 from DC Comics, written by Tom Taylor, art by Mikel Janin. A bunch of things going on in this issue as well.
Yeah,
versus the last issue, we do not flash back in time and don't find out more about Thomas Wayne or what was going on with Joe Chill, which was kind of the big thing that happened to the previous issue. But here we are getting a bunch of threads, including Batman investigating a killer who is taking down runaways or strays, I guess, kids who are on the street. Meanwhile, he's also wrestling with the question of whether he should take an experimental medical treatment that will rejuvenate him and keep him alive for a much longer time. So, of course, he consults with Superman on that. Lots of interesting stuff happening here. Curious to hear what you guys thought about this issue.
Yeah, it was really a lot going down. I agree. But also I was weirded out by how eager Soups was like, yeah, take it. Do it. Whatever keeps you alive longer, man. I'm all about you staying alive and being alive, which I think is adorable of Superman. But also, like, Soups, like, this could really mess him up. Like, you didn't even ask about the side effects. Like, also, this isn't natural. Like, what the fuck, Soups? So
You think Soups is juicing?
it seems like Soups was Team Juice, which I was very shocked by.
Soups is juicing.
Yeah, so the soup juice is, I guess, bananas. But, yeah.
The soup juice is bananas. Put that quote on the front of this episode so people know what we're talking about. That we're journalists who have ideas.
I've never
The
said
soup juice
I'm
is
a
bananas.
journalist. You guys claim that for some reason.
You are a journalist when you
I
say
know.
stuff like the soup juice is bananas.
But I enjoyed the
Our
villain,
top story today.
I enjoyed the villain reveal at the end there.
Be careful, folks. The soup juice is bananas. I repeat, I'm Walter Cronkite. The soup juice is bananas.
I have come back to life to tell you the soup juice is bananas. Is he dead?
He is Walter Cronkite. He's like so dead. He's dead so hard.
But he came back a couple of times, right?
Yeah, he's come back. But even when he came back, it was like so long ago
He was
that
old
everyone
in
was
the
like,
50s, bro. I mean, what are
Yeah.
you talking about?
he was old when he was famous.
Yeah.
Like even old people are like, that dude's old.
Yeah. But not like old and skinny, just like old.
No, he's just old, right? He's like Donatello. He's Donatello adjacent. He's got a dead rat in his shoulder wherever he is.
Yeah, he's definitely got
Dead rats,
Dead
Wolf
Rat.
Blitzer.
Oh, wow.
I
soon.
I think this is great. I think
Did Wolf
Tom
Blitzer
Taylor.
die?
Not yet. Not
He's
as
old.
of this taping.
Oh, man.
He's hungry like the wolf. This Tom Taylor he's laying stuff out on the table that we don't touch on all the stuff that came before. This issue's laying out stuff. Tom Taylor's setting up to do a nice long run on this, maybe. Fingers crossed.
Yes, I agree. I like this. I would have appreciated one of the flashbacks again. I was surprised that isn't the format of the book. That's what I was sort of, per our discussion about.
Well, we
new
get a
runs
whole
and
Joker
creative
thing at the
teams.
beginning.
Yeah, man. You guys
But that's like a dream sequence. He's asleep and just sort of dreaming about it. That's, I don't know. Like if you set up, this is what we're doing in the book, I kind of want to see that play out. But to your point, Tom Taylor plays a long game. He's great. I'm excited to see that. I do agree it's weird. Clearly, Batman is suspicious about this, and part of it is taking the treatment so that he can test the treatment. But it's weird that Superman at no point is like, is this corporation evil?
Yeah.
Have you checked that out? Because that's what always happens.
The woman giving you the treatment seems suspicious AF, right?
Yeah.
Detective?
So there's a little bit
World's
of like,
greatest detective?
yeah, so there's a little bit of suspension of disbelief going on there, I feel like, in terms of you're just not asking some basic questions we know are going to pan out later, because there's no way that this ends with like, and then Batman was younger in the end.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen. But good run. Great art from Mikel Janin.
Really great.
Really good.
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk, number 19 from Marvel, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Greg Pak, Torrin Grönbach, and Benjamin Percy. Art by Nick Klein and Danny Earls, Lan Medina, and Lynn Yoshi. Beyond being Incredible Hulk 19, this is also the 800th issue of Incredible Hulk. So we get a main story, which is Hulk finally facing down with Eldest, the Eldritch terror creature from the beginning of time, who has been taunting him for a while.
We
Then
all
get
know
a bunch
what you
of
mean when you say
backup stories.
Eldest.
Yep. And then we get a bunch of backup stories featuring Amadeus Cho and She-Hulk as well.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think?
I thought this was a great package, badass issue. I mean, there's some great splash pages too in the main story. Some really intense body dysmorphia stuff, but man, just those like kind of like had some real iconic Hulk lines in there and just really kind of badass moments. So yeah, I thought this was a really fun book.
Yeah, I mean, I've been liking the Philip Kennedy Johnson horror stuff. It feels so much more visceral than what we've seen before, so that's fun. Curious where it feels like this is a big ending of the first big movement of this arc. So curious where we're going. Werewolf by Night seems to be coming. The Amadeus Cho story, I was like, man, be nicer to your fellow Hulk. Bruce
was
Banner.
pretty sad. It was pretty sad, but I liked Greg taking on this era of Hulk and contrasting it with his own era. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Fun She-Hulk story, but we get this Red Hulk story that's setting up this Doctor Doom adjacent Red Hulk, and I was like, what? It felt such a strange. I liked the Red Hulk
Thunderbolt
story.
Ross is executing a man in the snow.
I thought that part was like felt like a take on Red Hulk, where he becomes this like very intense assassin. But it ended with Doctor Doom being like, "Hey, I'm magic now. Come to my house." I was like, "What? That doesn't make sense."
Yeah. One other thing, I know Pete said this, but I did want to give a shout out to the, what would you call it, vertical double page splash that's in the middle of the issue.
Yes.
Hulk facing down to Eldest. Killer visual. Cool. Great stuff. Universal Monsters Frankenstein number 4 from Skybound and Image Comics by Michael Walsh. This is the final issue of this series and is focusing on Frankenstein's eyes, the monster's eyes, as we wrap up the story of the movie and the story of this series and extend it a little bit further. Pete, you seem pretty stoked about it, so take it away.
Yeah, I was just super impressed with this. One of those comics where if you told me like, oh man, you're really going to love this, I would have looked at you like, what? But just such a beautifully told story with such a kind of like sad, powerful kind of underpinning to it. I think they just really captured that kind of like humans failing Frankenstein moment really well. And I thought it was beautiful and powerful and just really kind of cool, and I was very moved by it. The art's fantastic. I love what this story has to say. I think it's very kind of impressive. We've seen a lot of takes on Frankenstein. I feel like this is really creatively driven in such an interesting way.
And to some of what Pete's saying, I think the most fuckable Frankenstein that we've seen in quite some time. But I will say...
More than Adam Frankenstein?
Well, that's a tough call. It's a tough call.
On Adam
he could bring me back to life.
There we go.
Really going to bat for Adam, just like the Christopher Chaos book, Alex. This book is excellent, and it tells a complicated story. There's some things that happen in this that are a little like it's not like we have a clear path of hero and villain here. It's just like things keep happening, choices are made. It's a melancholy story, beautifully done by Michael Walsh. So I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
This is great. Beautifully drawn, like you guys have been saying. Really interesting story. I do think extending it over so much time in the movie and this issue stretched it a little bit more than the previous issues that were so razor focused, but I still really, really like this. This is nothing against the other ones, but the best of the Universal Monsters series.
Yes,
so far.
agree.
So far, yeah.
The Carlisle School for Kings number 2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Nelson Greaves, art by David Castelluccio, and this takes place in per the title, a school for kings. It's like a Hunger Games style contest where one kid is going to become king at the end, and there's a bunch of infighting that happens to this issue. I think we were pretty impressed by the first issue of this, if I remember correctly, how that hold up in issue 2.
I like the world building and the gamesmanship that is done in this book. It is really carrying on the central premise and sort of the goals of a couple of the main characters. And then just telling like an engaging short story about like this competition that these people are in.
Yeah, I agree. This is very interesting. And you kind of get an understanding of what's happening here, but there's also so many layers that it's fun to kind of try to figure out all like everybody's strategy and who's backstabbing and why and that kind of interesting stuff. So yeah, it's got a fun kind of like Survivor kind of feel to it as well. But I'm excited to read more and find out what all goes down.
Which side are you guys on? The underdogs who are good people, or the like spoiled sons of the king who
underdogs
are killing people? Really? Underdogs?
I'm on the other side. You know, when I used to watch
Classic
like 80s
Zelda.
camp movies, I always liked the rich camp because I was like, they're going to do a better job. They're going to clean this place up, you know?
Yeah, there's a great pedigree there. I really like the way they approach things from a position of wealth.
Nightwing 120 from DC Comics, written by Dan Waters, art by Dexter Soy. In this issue, Nightwing is facing down a new enemy who wants to bring martial law to Bloodhaven and is breaking the delicate peace that Nightwing brought to the town last issue. I do want to give a shout out to the cover where, boy, DC's really playing that Nightwing butt thing wherever they can, just non-stop, just hitting it.
Yeah.
Hitting it.
No comment about that butt.
You're gonna.
What?
Avalanche is coming for
I
that
just think,
butt.
there's a lot of talk about
It's-
you and butts today.
I'm just saying, Avalanche would love to eat that butt.
All right. Yeah, I think this kicks a lot of ass to kind of keep the butt thing
It kicks
going
a lot of
little bit.
butt.
Yeah. I enjoyed this cool setup for the story here. Nightwing trying to do the right thing and, evil people trying to fuck up his world. So, I think this is a cool setup, and I'm all in, as they say on the cover.
Nice. This is what the other book I was referencing in a new.
Oh, this is when you
team.
said you wanted to talk about something. Okay, yeah.
I was leading to this book where this is a new team that took over this book as well, like some others we've spoken about. And this one feels a little bit like a sort of smoother transition. The art is very different, but we're still dealing with some of these same ideas. And Nightwing as a character remains very consistent throughout. So I appreciate that. Feels like a more old-fashioned handover between creative teams. And the emotionality of what happens in the back half of this book really hit me. Nice job.
I go the opposite way. Like I said earlier, I think I want a bigger take here, particularly because I like Dan Waters. I like Dexter
That's what you
Soy.
said before.
Yes, and then I am consistent over my views.
I am
here.
consistent.
I like this because I like Nightwing. I think they're doing a good job on the title. The mystery is intriguing and the action is good. Plus, Nightwing gets a bunny to pair with Bitewing, his dog. That's very cute.
That's what I call a take, Alex.
That is a take.
Bunny? Having a bunny? That's a take.
Never mind.
Have you ever had a bunny?
I have.
Oh.
What?
Sniffles.
Nice. Wait, out of your hat? Like
No. This is 100% true. We had a bunny when I was growing up named Sniffles.
He
And
was
then I
sick all
left
the
for
time?
college. Sniffles died, and then they got a new bunny called Zoe, and I never really bonded with Zoe the same way as Sniffles.
Wow.
That's
But I
fucked
bonded
up,
with
man.
Sniffles.
Do you think Sniffles was sad because you left?
No, Sniffles got cancer and died.
My God.
Well,
Smoking?
anyway,
Was
moving
it
Alex,
on.
lung
that's
cancer?
intense.
I hear
It was very upsetting. Hyde Street, number 2 from Ghost Machine Comics.
Jesus
by
Christ.
Johns, art by
PTSD, you're like Wolverine. You got bunny PTSD.
Art by Ivan Rice. This
about a lot
takes
of dead
place
pets.
in the horror universe that Ghost Machine has, where there's basically like a bunch of horror hosts all living on a street together. They're all working for unknown reasons for somebody named the Scorekeeper. And here we're focusing on the Cub Scout, who was shown off in the first issue, getting a little bit of it, but not all of his origin. And then, I don't know what to call them, missions he goes on. We get to see one of those. And we also get to see a little bit of the Scorekeeper. I'm really enjoying this. This is an intriguing mythology that they're setting up here, which I was not expecting. There's some pretty messed up things that are happening. So, Pete, I'm sure you don't love it as much as I do, but I'm enjoying this book quite a bit.
Yeah, this is creepy as fuck, and especially when you bring a kid into it. And another Pip.
Well, he's evil.
Another Pip in this, so R.I.P. to the Pip. And
Don't
yeah,
bring
this
my dog into this book.
Well, I'm sorry, man. The character's name
A
is
lot
Pip.
of real life dead pets on this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. That's what I was.
We've all faced losses.
Sure have. Still sad to hear about your bunny, though, Alex. Anyways, what?
Pete's
Talk
crying.
about a pet who died. You got to even it out.
Yeah,
I
what's
talked
your
about
pet
one.
today?
Justin's talked about one, or got forced to talk about one.
Yeah, I
Keep bringing up my dead dog.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about my dead dog. He's still alive in my heart. Anyways, Yeah, this is...
And
yeah,
also still alive, right, Pete?
No, unfortunately.
What was his name? Walter Cronkite, I believe.
Yeah, I don't
Pete loved the news as a kid.
Yeah, the real name is ridiculous, and I don't want to get into it. But
Say it. What do you mean ridiculous?
Say it. Now you have to say it.
all right, the dog's name was Nutter. We called him D's Nuts. Funniest thing to hear in the morning is my mom would let out the dog, and then when it was time for the dog to come back in after it's his business, she was like, "Here it is. Come here, D's Nuts." And me and my brother...
She said D's Nuts?
Yeah, we would just fall over laughing every time. Great way to start your day.
Wow, that's amazing.
But this book scared the fuck out of me, and I didn't finish reading because I was like, nope, this kid is way
finish reading?
too creepy.
Okay, we are having Jeff Johns and Ivan Rice on our live show next week, so finish reading it.
No, I will not.
Yeah, we're talking about this book. This very title with them.
It's great. Cool.
I enjoyed this a lot. The art is excellent. There's a lot of, we get some Norman Rockwell refs in this. There's just nice, this book is placing itself very much in, I guess, American culture, and then the horrifying underpinnings to a lot of regular small town life. I am curious when the story touches on the overall narrative, I'm like, what is happening with this scorekeeper and all that? I'm curious when that's going to really open up, because I'm happy just reading these horror stories about small town people. And it does make me want to ask you, did you guys have to, there's a fetal pig dissection here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you guys have to do that when you were in middle school?
I did do a frog.
I also did a frog. I was the only person in the class who successfully removed the digestive tract of the frog intact. And the teacher called me out in front of the whole class and was like, "Great job. You did such a good job here." And because of that, I decided at that moment I wanted to be a gastrointestinal surgeon.
How'd that work out?
Well, it took me a couple of years, but I suddenly, by the time I hit 11th grade, I think it was, I was like, hold on. You don't remove the entire digestive system.
You rarely do that operation.
Rarely.
And that's why you walked away?
That's very funny.
I got into theater.
Yeah. Oh, sick. I feel like
Gave
your
up on your
teacher
dreams.
Your teacher might have been like, "This Alex successfully removed the digestive system. He's going to murder someone."
Yeah, I was going to say, he is a
serial
psychopath. Killer. Yeah, everybody watch out for this guy.
He removed the digestive system right here on Hyde Street.
When I was a kid,
the whole time.
I played my aunt's flute and got a sound out of it, and so naturally, when at school, I volunteered to be a serial killer as well, just like you, Alan.
Flautist?
I had to dissect fetal pigs in my high school, and I agree with this comic. It is weird.
It's pretty weird. Babs, number 4 from Ahoy Comics, written by Garth Ennis, art by Jason Burrows. This is continuing the fantasy parody adventure, and this time Babs is on a boat with a bunch of elves and they want messed up stuff. Another fun issue of this book. I think it weaved a little bit from the precise cultural parody that we've seen in the first 3 issues that has been all about like online trolls and MAGA chuds and whatever else. We get a little bit of that here, but it veers more into the classic Garth Ennis, hey, elves are using butt plugs territory and things like that, which is fine.
That's fine. I think that's fine. Because he stuck to the game of it for this, and I was pleasantly surprised by the twists and turns of this. And it's fun. I mean, this is one of those books I'm like, just keep them coming. I'll read this in the stack whenever it comes out, because it is fun. The Talking Sword is very fun.
Yeah, I will say the thing that made me giggle the most reading this issue is the Talking Sword vomiting over the edge of the boat despite not having a mouth. Fun bit.
Yeah, this is just classic Garth Ennis having a good time, which I'm all here for. And it's over-the-top blue humor. Those bubbles were insane, but it was even crazier to see what was making those bubbles and how it was being made. But yeah, this is just... a fun mix of art and comedy and a ridiculous over the top.
What are you talking about?
There's a bubble spell basically that kills.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay, I remember now.
And I agree that was very cool. Yes. There's a great use of fantasy elements in this book, despite the fact that it's like a sort of comedy-forward parody book.
Superman number 20 from DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, art by, once again, Dan Mora, the busiest artist in comics.
Everywhere. He's all over the place.
The big cliffhanger at the end of the last issue was that Time Trapper, the classic DC Comics character, was revealed to be none other than a very skinny version of Doomsday.
Emo Doomsday, bro.
He must be old.
Yeah. Ooh. And that's where we pick up this issue as we find out how that happened, sort of, or kind of, getting a flash forward through the eras. We get some teases for some bad things coming down the road for Superman. And a couple of other things out of the issue. But what'd you guys think about this one?
It was a heck of a roller coaster. I mean, Emo Doomsday just wanting to talk it out a little bit and then just warning Superman and then dropping the bomb that he's going to lose an eye. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, man, I would love to have someone tell me that.
That would be your
you
favorite
haven't
thing?
Lost your right eye yet. It'd be like, oh, man, when?
Why would you be
Can't
excited
wait.
about
You
that?
can do that right now.
You can't wait.
I'm just saying, I
Someone's
want
gonna
someone
come up to you and just go, hey, in 10 minutes, I'm going to poke out your eye.
I want someone to come up to me with just a big take, I guess, is what I'm saying.
A hot take?
Yeah.
That's what we need in this world. More people coming up to you with hot takes.
Exactly. I need more disruption in my life.
Yeah.
I think this book is excellent. The Doomsday stuff is really fun, but more importantly, the Superman and Lois as both being superheroes right now is really great. I feel like Joshua Williamson is really focusing on their relationship side a lot in relation to that, and I really like it. It's different, and the Dan Mora art is just perfectly matching the superhero nature of their relationship at the time when we're dealing with it. So it's really good.
I just think it's weird that a villain's going to show up, threaten you, give you important information, and then just peace out. I mean, that's just such a weird thing to do.
That's a classic villain thing, though. Being like, I shall be back in 1 week's time.
He's here at the wrong time.
Please get your affairs in order.
Yeah. I'm also having a really good time with this. The skinny Doomsday freaks me out. There's just some sort of uncanny valley.
I like
thing.
it. Oh, I like it.
Oh my God. Ugh. And in general, Doomsday, I just don't think is a very interesting villain.
Oh, that's so fun. I feel like this issue makes Doomsday interesting. Like, it really adds like an idea to it, the progression of always
because
evolving.
he talks now? And he,
well,
the
idea
because
that
he's skinny?
Yeah.
Because he's skinny? You can only talk to skinny
What's that
people?
about, huh?
it's sort of
okay.
It's sort of You know I love
Thanks for backing me up, Pete.
You know
Thanks
I love
for
that
backing me
thick.
up.
Yeah, I love that thick Doomsday, aka the most fuckable Doomsday, as I've always said. What I was going to say,
thick thing. What was the?
Is the
Thick
the
Wilson,
progression
that's what it
like
is.
Thick Wilson? Yeah, that's a character that used to be known as Kingpin, and is only called Thick Wilson from here on out. No Thick Wilson this week, just Thick Doomsday. The thing we learn here that Doomsday is Solomon Grundy adjacent. That like when you kill Doomsday, he evolves to another higher level. And so that's a risk. That's a cool twist to add into the Doomsday.
Wasn't that always the thing, though?
I think so, but we get to see further consequences of it here that I think really like pay it off in a way that I haven't seen before.
Yeah. And it's a great weight-losing technique, if you want.
What?
You think there's an Ozempic storyline we're going to get?
I think so.
If somebody has to die,
I think he's juicing.
There is a thing in this where Parasite sucked Doomsday's power enough that they got to get their syringes in. And you think they were just like straight Ozempic right into Doomsday's
100%.
stony heart? Wow.
They got to put that, what is it, juice soup? Soup juice?
I don't think we're referencing that. I don't think we're referencing that.
Yeah, we're not bringing that up again.
Hold on, let me just read back the ticker tape I get. I print out this entire episode out every time we record it. The soup juice is bananas. The soup juice is bananas.
Grommets number 6 from Image Comics, written by Rick Remender and Brian Posehn, art by Brett Parson. Picking up after the last issue where our Grommets, I don't know what they're called, anywhere our skater dudes are being attacked by an enraged jock with red eyes and a gun who beats the ever-loving shit out of them. That's the first half of the issue. And the second half of the issue, they just like kind of deal with it a little bit.
Life sucks.
Yeah.
I thought this was, I mean, I hate to say it, but like I really didn't expect it to the characters to be so down bad, except for the fact that it's a Rick Remender book where all the characters are always down bad. But like, man, I'm really suffering here along with our main guys.
Yeah, it was tough growing up in the 90s, man. A lot of tough love, you know. This was really an intense time, so I'm glad we're kind of getting that a little bit within all the fun skateboarding kind of stuff. But yeah, the heartbreaking what these kids are going through. But yeah, I'm somehow enjoying this, even though it's crazy and depressing a little bit.
I really like the art in this book. This might be my comic brain, but I know we've talked about this with previous issues. I'm still sort of waiting for what this is, and with one last issue, maybe we are going to get that mission statement there, or maybe it's just slice of life. I don't know. But it feels like it keeps edging up on a plot and then backing away from it.
Well, or I think, because there is a lot, I think there's a lot of plot happening. I think a larger thematic about what it means. And I agree, it hasn't really been defined. It feels sort of like we're just trying to figure our lives out. A classic, like, teen slice of lifestyle story.
Right.
But I agree with you. I don't know, especially with all the bad things that happen. I'm like, give me some direction about what this means. Mm-hmm. And the characters are in search of it too, so maybe that's intentional. But man, we got to land on something hard in this last issue coming up.
Yeah. Red Before Black, number 3 from Boom Studios, written by Stephanie Phillips, art by Goran Sudzuka. We're following two women, one who was initially sent to kill the other, but they've sort of, against both of their wills, or at least one of their wills, teamed up here as they are on the run from the cops and the crooks at the same time. They're finding out more about each other, and meanwhile, one of them is having strange visions that it turns out the other one can see. So lots of stuff going on here. This continues to be just a really fascinating book. It is sort of Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn coded, but they're
good.
Slightly different characters, so it still works. It doesn't feel like a carbon copy. There's some intriguing mysteries. There's some good sweaty noir going on. I really like this quite a bit.
Yeah, this is a ton of fun. Also, just love the shading and the coloring in the cover. It's such a great cover. I thought it did such a cool job of pulling you into the story. But I also really laughed out loud when we kind of had this moment after we went through this kind of crazy scene that it was like, oh yeah, that's Winston, my pet alligator. I laughed. I thought that was so fucking funny.
All I was going to say about this book was Winston, a fucking alligator.
Yeah. I think this is a real fun combination of a lot of things happening, but also some cool humor. Just really impressed by the writing style and the pace of action and stuff in this book.
The Flash, number 15 from DC Comics, written by Simon Spurrier, art by Vasco Georgiev. At the end of the last issue, while the Flash family was on vacation in Skartaris, I believe it is, basically like underground, hollow earth type place,
Land of the Lost.
The daughter of the family went back to the Watchtower and discovered her dad was there. This issue, we find out why there are two Flashes running around. And get a little bit more on that. What'd you guys think? Justin, why don't you take it away?
Yes, I love this book. I think Simon Spurrier, when he took over Flash, just set this book on fire in a great way. Like, the idea of highlighting... The Flashes are always highlighted for their, like, altruistic, I can do better, I can try harder nature. And what Cy Spurrier's brought here is, like, there's a cost to that. and these Flashes are making mistakes, and their emotionality is popping out and creating flaws in their thinking. And I love that. We had that in the first arc, and this new arc, it's popping up in different ways that I think are really interesting and exciting. And it's interestingly drawn, and the colors are fantastic. This is just high-end, different take superhero comics.
Yeah, I agree. This is a lot of fun, and the art's really unbelievable. I also like the girl and the smart choices that she's making, trying to figure things out. Yeah, it's not an annoying Flash story, so I'm having a blast.
And I just want to give a shout out to the cover of this issue, which is a great, cool pinball machine featuring the Flashes. Great stuff.
Genre shift.
Pinball machines.
Last to talk about Violent Flowers number 3.
You're supposed to say last but not least, man. You don't say last.
Oh,
last. Least.
Yeah, that's what you just did. And I was like, what the fuck, man?
Well, I'm sorry. This is clearly Pete's favorite book of the week by Maria Lovett. It is right up Pete's alley. Bunch of sexy vampires sucking and fucking. Take it away, Pete.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Great art. Fun sex vampire stuff.
Nice. Wow. Really wholehearted endorsement from Pete LePage. I read this on the subway and was happy to show everyone on my subway car.
I was like, hey, check this out.
I was like, hey, don't look away.
This is the least
I'm a
sexual.
father. I'm in charge of other people's lives. Look what I'm reading on the bus.
Oh, my God. You're allowed to read adult things. Calm down.
Yeah.
This is actually about a vampire who has been tasked with tracking down, I believe, a vampire who killed another vampire or something like that. There's a human.
There's a
who
villainous vampire who turned, and there's some regret there, and a couple layers of that,
and there's a human
poison
along for the
arrow.
ride.
Yeah,
Hey, don't forget
This
poison arrow.
issue, I really like the series. Love Maria Lovett's art. This issue, for a 4-issue series, felt like it slowed down considerably. Like, I didn't mind the stuff.
Yeah,
that was
just
going on with the characters.
people staring at each other on a bench kind of moment. Is that what you're talking about?
For most of it, yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. It did slow down, but I actually liked the slowdown.
Oh, okay.
I liked the intimacy we got between the characters because of all of the Maria Lovett books that we've talked about in the last few years. This one felt like the biggest, the most mythological for the first 2 issues, and I actually like this one really focused the lens down on a couple characters and showed us the underpinnings of what they're thinking and feeling, and I thought this was the best issue of the series.
Interesting. It's still very good. Looking forward to how it is going to wrap up. And speaking of wrap up, that is it for the stack. If you'd like to support us, patreon.com/comicbookclub. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about comic books. Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Comic Book Live on Twitter/X, Comic Book Club Live on TikTok and Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
Is this the most fuckable comic book club? Anybody else think that?
Christ, man.